He went from being a happy husband and father to losing everything, sleeping in public bathrooms and shelters, and even selling his own blood just to survive. He went through all of this while caring for his young son and fighting to give them both a better future. But before we understand what Chris was truly pursuing, we first have to understand what happiness meant to him. Throughout the movie, Chris is trying to hold together every part of his life at once: his family, his job, his finances, and his responsibility as a father. And hidden inside the title of this story is a small detail that helps explain it all. Happiness is spelled with a Y. You probably remember the daycare Chris takes his son throughout the movie. Painted across the outside wall is the word happiness, spelled with a Y instead of with an I. Chris notices immediately and points out the word is spelled incorrectly. That detail was not created only for the movie. The real Chris Gardner explained that there was really a place called the Happiness Daycare Center, and it became extremely important to him and his son during the difficult period of their lives. The word was actually spelled with a Y, just as we see it in the film. So when Gardner told his story, he decided to keep that spelling, but the Y eventually gained a much deeper meaning. Gardner explains that the Y represents you for happiness and your responsibility to create the life you always wanted for yourself and your family. He also said that everyone will have a different definition of what happiness means to them, and that idea follows Chris throughout the entire movie. When he sees a man stepping out of a Ferrari, Chris asks him two questions: what do you do? And how do you do it? He looks around and sees people who appear successful, relaxed, and happy. At that moment, he believes becoming a stockbroker might finally give him the life he wants. But as his situation becomes worse, his definition of happiness begins to change. Happiness is no longer just a Ferrari, the expensive suits, or the successful career. Sometimes happiness means selling one medical scanner so he can feed his son. Sometimes it means getting a place in the shelter before all the beds are taken. And during his lowest moment, happiness means turning a public bathroom into an imaginary cave so his son can sleep without fully understanding that they have nowhere else to go. Chris cannot control every setback that happens to him. He cannot force doctors to buy his machines, make the internship pay him, or prevent his family from falling apart. But he continues taking responsibility for the things he can control. He continues showing up. He continues caring for his son, and he continues pursuing the life that happiness represents to him. At the end of the movie, Chris is finally offered the job he spent months fighting for. He walks aside surrounded by hundreds of people, trying to hold back his tears and describe that small moment of his life as happiness. Not because all of his struggles suddenly disappeared, and not because money automatically creates a perfect life, but because for the first time in a long time, Chris knows that he and his son are going to be okay. That is why the Y in the pursuit of happiness matters. It begins as a spelling mistake outside of daycare, but it becomes a reminder that happiness does not have one definition. For Chris, it meant protecting his son and building a stable future. For someone else, it might mean family, freedom, purpose, or peace, or even something completely different. The answer changes depending on the person, because the Y represents you, your happiness, your definition, and your responsibility to pursue it.